Hey, it's Karyn Bryant for MMA Heat. I'm here with Tareq Azim, who is Jake Shields' head coach, teammate of the Scrap Pack, all-around good guy. Good to see you, Tareq, calling from Winnipeg. How are you?
Hey, Karyn, how are you?
I'm good, and so I want to give people a little backup to this story here. I got a text from you earlier tonight, and we were talking about the fights, and I said I was here in L.A. because I'm working for Fuel, and then I started asking you how Jake is doing, and then you said, well, let's just do an interview, and I'm glad you suggested that because we may as well let everybody hear the conversation that we were going to have over text, and this is just easier, right? So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure. Thanks for taking the time to connect.
Sure. Okay, so the first thing that I asked was, how's his weight? Because we know that Jake has had some issues before with cutting weight, and I remember when I was doing an Elite XC show, I think it was 2008 or so, and I remember day of, weigh-ins, he's running around in a suit trying to drop 15 pounds, and I thought that was just crazy, and we know that he's done that before, and it hasn't worked out for him, so what's he been doing this time to get his weight on point the right way?
I mean, Jake's a professional athlete. He's been doing this for a long time. He's got it down to a science. It seems to freak people out all the time when he's about, anywhere between 13 and 18 pounds over. But he's a professional. When it's time, he's always on point. He always performs well, and he does what he does best is wins. And the weight management, I don't think really it's ever been much of an issue for him. He's planned to be at the weight that he's at, usually the week of, and gets the weight off just fine. This camp around, he knew that being at 170 is a much better weight class for him. The 85-pound division here in the UFC, guys are a lot bigger than they were before. So even at 85, he's a very small 85er. Coming to 170, it's a perfect weight for him. It's a weight that he carries himself around. It's a weight that he practices quite well at. And yeah, he's doing real well. He'll be right on weight with no problem, and he's feeling real good.
Cool. Well, the reason I ask about the weight is just I think in the past he's admitted that it fatigued him a little bit on time. There was one or two fights where he said, "Well, I have to admit I was a little tired that time." But you're saying that's not the case this time.
Yeah, no, definitely not this time. No, I know. The fight you're probably alluding to was that Martin Kentman fight.
Yeah.
When he had just come over from Strikeforce, being an 85-pounder after his fight with Dan Henderson. Yes, that was a huge weight cut for him.
Right.
Close to a little over 20 pounds that he had cut that week, which would definitely not that much over at all.
Yeah. Cool. Well, now here's the thing. Jake, his last fight was ruled a no contest, and I know he came out and apologized for what he did, but let's talk about that because, it colors what people think about him going into this fight, and obviously I would think it makes more pressure on him to win and test positive after. So, I mean, if you can tell us why did he choose to go that route for the last fight, and what is he doing this time to make sure that he didn't have to rely on that type of thing to be able to be in good enough shape to win?
Oh, that had nothing to do with being in shape. It was a diuretic, something you use to cut weight. But yeah, no, I mean, everything's squared away with that situation. It's something that's in the past. It was nothing that really it changes performance or anything like that. It was just more to help cut weight.
Yeah. And we've already established that that's not an issue this time. So here's the deal. Moving up and back and down in weight, this is, like you said, I think a better weight for Jake. Tyron Woodley is somebody who's been coming up for a long time, made a great, huge debut in the UFC, is a very, very strong wrestler, we know that, who's been working on his striking. So what have you guys done to prepare for Tyron, who's a very agile, very fast, powerful young guy?
Yeah, I mean, Tyron Woodley, just like other fights, have been taken very, very serious. I know we talk quite a bit in between camps and usually right before big fights. And I think this fight's probably one of the fight Jake's taken very, very serious just because it's at a very important time in his career.
Yeah.
And having someone like Tyron Woodley to do so has been an extremely motivating factor for Jake in camp. Knowing Tyron's background, Tyron's explosiveness, Tyron's strength, which is wrestling, which is some of Jake's bread and butter. Really respecting his power, his leverage, his timing. Very smart. He's a competitive athlete. He's competed at the highest level in wrestling. He's someone that Jake in preparation to camp. It's been pretty awesome to see Jake as violent as I've seen him in his last camp. Very angry, very motivated, and very focused.
Does he feel that that he has something to prove me. It's interesting. Both he and Tyron have been called not the most interesting fighter at times, or somebody who, maybe wrestles too much or works too much on the ground and isn't exciting enough. And I know for Tyron that was something that he really worked against, and in the Nate Marquardt fight that was really good for him, and obviously with J.Haran. Does Jake feel, there's obviously that sense when people come to the UFC that you have to put on more exciting fights, and how much does he internalize that and understand that while you want to play to the strengths, which is obviously, great jiu-jitsu and a great ground game, how do you play to your strengths but still deliver, the kind of fight that's going to get you a great next fight if you win, and also get some new fans?
I think what Jake is doing has been quite well for him, and yeah, to a majority of fans. I mean, we hear what you're saying quite a bit from fans who aren't really that big of students of mixed martial arts or martial arts. It's more the fans who are they're looking for showmen.
Right.
But to the average fan, or not to the average fan, but to the more the
smarter fan.
Smarter fan, yeah, I didn't want to use that word, but yeah, the smarter fans, fans of the sport, students of the sport. I think he's recognized as one of the best, and looked at as one of the most interesting fighters because he's such a craftsman at what he does. He's mastered the craft, but it doesn't knock him off his game.
Yeah.
I don't think any situation or any of these words that people talk about, what they talk about, really discourage him or make him not play his game. At the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to win, and he does that. And he finds a way to make it happen. I mean, going in with Jake, you see him from the outside, and you're like, oh, I can get him here. He's got this, this stand-up that isn't that effective, or he's got this issue or this other, problem here and this and that. But when you stand across from Jake, and I have someone who's been sparring him for the last 6 years, and as you've seen yourself before, and you come watch us, we're not a team that goes very soft. So we go. He's got a style that is very, very, very difficult to work with when it's live.
Yeah.
And he's got a style that really prevents anyone who does have the elite and the most superb, stand-up ability. He completely paralyzes them. I mean, look at the Paul Daly fight, the Robbie Lawler fight, Dan Henderson. I mean, he's taken the guys who are knockout artists and knockout kings and paralyzed them, just with his understanding of gauging distance and the fundamentals of footwork, and really enforcing his game on people. I just don't think it gets any better than that. And I think, that's another reason why he doesn't get too discouraged of what people say about his style of fighting.
Very nice. Well, like you said, I've seen it firsthand, and I've seen it for years, so I agree. And, it's interesting, too, you bring up Dan Henderson, and obviously Dan is the main event of the card, and everybody talks about Dan the legend and Dan this, which is all well and true. But, yeah, it is pretty interesting. I don't know how many people remember that Jake defeated him at 185. And so I have to feel that must buoy Jake's spirits a little bit, knowing that this is the guy that everybody's talking about as one of the greats, and he already has him as a notch on his belt. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he does think about that. We all think about that, and it's something great. It's something that's been accomplished, but the main focus is Tyron Woodley, and Tyron Woodley's been taken very, very serious. He's a very dangerous opponent. He's an athlete. He's extremely agile. He's mobile. He's explosive. He's got everything you need to be outstanding and be amazing. And that's been taken into consideration quite a bit in this camp. And like I said to you, Karyn, things have been a lot different in this camp than ever before, especially with the previous situation after the fight with Ed Herman and the stance and the situation of coming back to 170. Jake will definitely enforce his place at 170 in this fight.
Nice. And another thing we need to talk about, because it just, I was on Facebook today and I saw Gilbert post this great post of him and Diego Sanchez saying the fight is on, and right away I was like, oh my God, I love this fight so much. I love that fight so much. Let's talk about Gil for a minute. I know, we talked fight night when he was taking on Benson Henderson, and that was a real tough loss for him. I know so many people saw Gilbert as the winner in that. How did he take that home? How did he live with that the next few days? And what did he do when he brought that back to the gym?
Oh, it was actually pretty exciting. We actually just kind of got word on that today, really, which he's very excited about. He's very excited about it just because, Diego Sanchez is a guy with a name. He is a guy who brings it. He is a guy that Gilbert will be able to fight. And one of the coolest components of it is everybody knows Gil's speed, and everybody knows Gil's cardio, and it's a 3-round fight. So you're in for a show with Gilbert on that one.
It's going to be great. I think it's a terrific fight, and I know it's tough with Benson. Even Dana had admitted, Benson Henderson doesn't blow people away when he wins fights, and he's had a lot of close calls. I know you might be a little bit biased, but did you think Gilbert did enough to win that fight against Benson?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it is biased, but yeah, just as a fan, as a fan of the sport or just a student of the sport, yeah, I definitely think he had Benson. We're all very confident that he had Benson. But again, he is the champ. He played the game smart. He did what he could to protect that belt by running quite a bit, which seems something very common with some of the champs right now, and kind of very similar to George St. Pierre and Jake. Where Jake even had taunted him at one point in the third round to come here and let's fight.
Right.
And Gilbert, was in the same type of situation. What else could have Gilbert done? If Gilbert had committed any more than he had done, he would have been in a situation to where it would have been in Benson's favor. I mean, Gilbert was coming forward, was initiating like Leo, let's fight. But he didn't want to fight. He tagged and ran, and did what he had to do to win. Which is the game. In the judging system and the way the sport is played out, it's part of the game. It works. It happens, and that's how you win. Well, that's how you're going to win.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about you for a second. I may as well let you plug away. You've got your own gym up in the Bay Area. Where, if people want to come train with you, which I know they can do, where can they find you? Yeah,
thank you. It's empowergym.com in San Francisco, right off the Embarcadero. We've really taken what I've been, had the pleasure of doing with all these athletes in mixed martial arts and all the years in the NFL, and I'm doing quite a bit with the off-season NFL player development, primarily focusing on quite a few of the Seattle Seahawks, or mainly Marshawn Lynch, and a couple other guys who had played with there previously, playing at other teams. Who Marshawn
You're not doing the Raiders anymore and stuff?
Not so much. Not after Bruce Gradkowski and Dave Tollefson had left. Once Coach Cable went to the Seattle Seahawks, my main focus was to work on Marshawn Lynch, who's been an absolute pleasure, one of the most humble individuals I've seen, and it's awesome to see athletes at that level be willing to learn and still be a student and recognize there's a lot more to always learn and to add to the game. So really bringing that mentality and that mindset into everyday people is what we've been doing. It's not a place where I'm breeding a team or doing anything like that. My main focus is Jake from MMA and a few of the up-and-comers that we've been working with us for years. But again, the majority of the focus is just to really instill that inner fight mentality into everyday people, whether it be people who want to be CEOs of their companies who are currently admin, or people who want to be better parents, and really just kind of insert that confidence that a lot of the high-level elite athletes have into everyday people through our training.
Well, I told you before you need to come down and open a Los Angeles office.
It's actually coming very soon.
Is it? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was just there last week for Metamoris, watching Halek Gracie's new amazing jiu-jitsu invitational, and I came a few days earlier to kind of look at some spaces and put together a team for the LA program.
Nice. Well, MMA H.E.A.T and I'll sign up. We'll be number 1 and 2 there with our membership cards. Okay.
Absolutely, sounds great.
Just you can't not the face, don't hit the face. And lastly, I want to ask you. You have so many wonderful programs in Afghanistan where you've been helping the women, the athletes over there with the boxing. And I'm just curious, again, I know you had a documentary at one point that was being made about that. What's the progress of that? Where does that stand? Not only just the film and that project, but your involvement in rebuilding the country.
Yeah, no, the ultimate mission of my program, utilizing sports, the ultimate contract of peace and reconciliation, and really using the women in such a male-dominated sport was really to instill cultural confidence back into Afghanistan. I've brought that initiative over to the States as well. We've actually launched a very big inner-city program in San Francisco, June 29th, at Candlestick Park, with the support of the SFPD and the 49ers, called Peace Parks, which is going to be our initiative of utilizing professional athletes as coaches and mentors to the at-risk and underprivileged youth. It'll be about 450 kids from different districts of the Bay Area coming to Candlestick, and we host an all-day clinic and a tournament at the very end for flag football that'll carry over into the next tournament. So it'll be a pretty cool little program to really align all the professional athletes: Gilbert, Jake, Marshawn Lynch. Quite a few other players from the NFL that I coach, and MMA will all be there supporting the program, playing coaches for the day.
Cool.
We're really excited about. And Peace Parks is going to be the new initiative that BeHuman.com will be recognized for. And Peace Parks is something we're looking to instill all over the world. Hopefully go to Liberia next.
Wow.
So we have Afghanistan, inner city, Liberia, and really instill Peace Parks. And Peace Parks is really about building not swings and slides, but sports programs, complexes that the community really want, whether it be a soccer field, basketball courts, a track and field, whatever it be. That'd be our initiative of building alternatives for the youth, other than drugs and trafficking and gangs and militias, that we give them the alternative of sports, and Peace Parks would be the house for it.
Cool. And in your free time, no, I'm kidding. You're a busy man. Well, listen, I want to thank you for giving us some insight on Jake as he heads into 161, big fight with Tyron Woodley, and also obviously great to hear about Gilbert and all the things you're doing. I guess we'll look for you up on the stage, right? You'll be weighing in with Jake.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Gilbert and I always do Rochambeau backstage on who gets to go out and feed him his kombucha and coconut water. But whoever wins tomorrow, best man wins. We'll be up there with Jake, and we'll get this guy on. But I tell you, Karyn, I'm really excited for Jake. This is definitely, it's been 6.5, 7 years we've been together. Yeah. It's been one of the most relentless camps we've ever had. And I'm very, very excited to see Jake come into this fight with his chip on his shoulder.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I will be on Fuel doing the weigh-in show and the post-fight show, so I'm sure he's going to give us some highlights to talk about on Saturday night. I'm looking forward to it.
We'll definitely finish him.
Okay, you got it. We heard it here from you. Thank you, Tareq. And I won't see you at the fights, but I will see you, via satellite, and I'll see you when you come to LA next time.
Thank you so much. And MMA Heat's been absolutely amazing for our community. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I'll see you.
Bye.